Hello my flosstube friends and welcome to my channel. My name is Carla and I am the Stitchy Witch and I live in Scotland. And I'm back with an August update. So this is going to be the update for the whole month of August, what I've got up to, stitching and non-stitching related stuff. Yeah, so I've got stuff to show you today. I've been keen to come back and do this, but I wanted to give myself enough time to have a little bit of progress to show you rather than keep coming on and saying, hey, look, I've done 50 stitches. So, because it's kind of been a busy-ish month, I've wanted to wait until I've had something to actually, come and show you some progress. I hope everybody is well and had a good August. We're coming to the end of summer now, which is kind of good because I think everyone's getting a bit tired here of the heat. You can see people are looking a little bit like weary, and as much as we've all enjoyed having some nice sunshine and maybe a bit too much sunshine some of the days, it's always nice when it starts cooling down and you can sleep at night. And for someone like me who suffers with restless legs, yeah, it's a relief, definitely for my husband, because I always keep him awake with my jiggling and dancing, and I'm sure he's looking forward to that stopping soon. So apart from that, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 whips to show you and a imminent, I will say imminent because it's on the cards, new start, which I will talk about. Oh my goodness, it seems like new startitis is an actual disease, and I think you can catch it over the internet. Am I right? And I've been watching quite a few videos this week where people are having new starts, and I'm thinking I kind of feel like I'm left out because I haven't really had a new start for ages. So yeah, I've been hit by the new startitis bug, which was just so random. It was like 1 minute I was fine, trucking along with my stitching, and the next minute I was like, I want to do this one. So yeah, I'll talk about that as well. There's a little bit of the book I've been reading and a little bit talk about my shop and what's happening with Etsy and the US side of sales. But first, let's go into what I have stitched in August. So the first one I'm going to show you is a chart called Purrfect Whisper. I'm going to put it up on the screen. And it's a Lisa Parker design. If I don't remember the designer, I've put it all down into the description box below. It's a Heaven and Earth design, and this is a, what do you call it? A story keep. So it's a smaller version, like a crop of a larger design. It's not a smaller version of the whole design. It's like a crop cut out of some part of the design. And I started this one earlier this year as a potential gift to my husband because, well, I don't know if he particularly likes owls, but he does like animals. So there we have it. And I thought, I'm always like leaning towards stitching cats. My first Hade, which I did was by Lisa Parker, was called Bewitched, and it was a cat. I thought, I don't want to do another cat, I'm going to do an owl. So my progress has been pretty good this month because I managed to get onto actually, well, sitting down and stitching a bit, even though it was quite crazy confetti. So this is my progress this month, and you can see, I hope the light does it some justice today. I'll bring it a bit closer. I love the way his feathers are looking all sort of fluffy-ish. And that eye, isn't it stunning? So this has worked, I'll have to explain again because it's quite interesting. I started working this in 10 stitch on this side where all the background is, and then I switched to doing 1/1 full cross on the owl. Because at the time that I started the owl, I was already switching over to 1/1 full cross on other projects. This is on 25 count. And I thought, well, I don't want to do the 1/1 on the blue background because it'll just, I don't know, it'll feel like I'm doubling my time having to do it because it'll just take ages because the 10 stitch on the blue was just going so nice. so smoothly and rapidly that to switch it over to 1/1 just felt like I was, going a bit cuckoo. Why would anybody do that on a background of one or two colours? So I kept it in 10 stitch because you can't really see. You can't see where it's changed or hasn't changed. The holes are just too small from a distance. Up on a wall, you're just never going to see it. So I switched to the 1/1 full cross here, and absolutely perfect. Works well for me. However, this is really crazy confetti, so yeah, it takes a while to get through. So it's slow going with this one. So I only managed to do a couple of 100 stitches a session whenever I pull it out, because it's just, yeah, all those blues on the owl. They're a bit frightening, actually, the amount of confetti that's coming out in this, but it's a nice effect and I like it, and it is quite long, as you can see. I don't think I'm going to do right to the very, very bottom. I think I'm going to crop a little bit off the bottom because there's a huge chunk of like tree trunk with leaves, and I don't think it's necessary to have all of it. I think I can probably chop a couple of rows off the bottom. If you look at the chart, you'll see that I actually cropped a little bit off the top as well. But I always leave enough, if I crop, I always leave enough fabric just in case I change my mind. Because if you decide to crop and you start up here at the top and you think, oh no, I don't really like that, I want to go back to the original size, you're doomed. You're not going to be able to because you've got no more fabric. So there's a little tip for you. If you want to do a crop, it's best to leave the extra fabric there just in case you change your mind. Okay, so that's Perfect Whisper, and also I am now at 36.06%. I stopped counting stitches because to me it felt a bit more too gamey, and I want it to feel more like a hobby rather than a gamey kind of thing. And no disrespect to people who do loads of games. I think they're fun. I think they're great. I actually watch people's games because I think they're interesting and it's fun to see how they do. It's just not the sort of thing I want to do when I'm stitching. I like to just sit down at the end of the evening with a cup of tea or coffee and just stitch. And I don't really care. I mean, I'm aware of how many I do, like whether it's a couple of hundred, or I know the difference between a couple of hundred and 1,000. But I don't sit there, with a specific intention of doing 200 or 300. I just go with the flow and do whatever comes out. That way I don't kind of feel any guilt or disappointed if I don't get to any goals. Having said that, I have done that plenty in the past where I've decided I'm going to do a certain amount of stitches, and that's okay because I decided to do it. But for the most part, for me, I think I'm just such a generally laid back person. I'm just quite happy to sit there and just stitch and watch TV, or chat to my husband and stitch and just enjoy it for the relaxing thing that it is, rather than, be getting all worked up about, am I going to get this many stitches done type of thing. So I think that's everything about that one. I do want to say, I don't think I've mentioned that the beginning of this month, I can't remember now, I'm losing my mind. If it was the first 2 weeks where I was switching things out, or it was the second 2 weeks, like this last couple of weeks where I've been going monogamous. So there was a couple of weeks where I pretty much only focused on one, which was the larger one. And then I started switching out, and I think that's what's happened. The first couple of weeks of the month, I started sort of monogamously with my Riverwalk charm, and then I brought in another couple because I was getting a little bit, as you do, tired of it. I really don't think I can do monogamous completely, but I also don't think I can rotate a lot of them either, because I just don't have the time, really. I'm just busy with other things and I want to be doing other things. And I find that if I'm trying to juggle, that's exactly the right word, juggle, too many in a rotation, I just feel like I'm not getting enough progress. So my sweet spot, I think, is picking out maximum 3 in a month and working with those. And then the following month, see where I'm at, see what I want to do. Because things change, I've noticed all the time. Sometimes you're in the mood for rotating, and other times you really just don't want to put a piece down. So it depends. Okay, so the next one I worked on in August is called the Great Cottage Walkway. I haven't worked on this a lot, again, because it is crazy confetti. I know I've put loads more into the larger chart, which was somewhat intentional, than this one. But that's okay, because there's no like specific deadline for any of these. Every time I think about a deadline, it just kind of makes me anxious. So I just think, look, forget deadlines. Just, just keep trucking on. Don't worry about. The only thing I kind of wanted to finish was the Purrfect Whisper, the owl, because I wanted to give it as a gift. But even then, I can do that anytime. So it's not specifically necessary to get it done for a certain time. So the Great Cottage Walkway is by Artecy. People who followed me for a while know that I like buildings and I like houses and I like charts that show cityscapes. I'm a bit of a city girl. I live in a major city and I kind of like the buzz and the excitement of the place, even though I don't like crowds. So explain that one. Don't like crowded places. Don't go out to places that I like, especially now here in August. It's the Fringe Festival. Look it up in Edinburgh. It is absolutely crazy with shows and acts and theatre plays and all sorts of stuff going on for the whole of August. It's called the Fringe, and you can't get anywhere because it's just so packed everywhere. And to be avoided for someone like me. But for some reason, I still like having life around me. I don't think I would fare well in like the countryside, maybe for a week or two, but after that, it's like I have to go where there's other people living and breathing. Otherwise, I kind of feel like too isolated. Anyway, back to this. So, Great Cottage Walkway, I got to 13.63%. I did write percentages down for those of you who like that sort of thing. And yeah, it's a bit confetti nuts, to be honest. So here it is. So all those changes of colour do actually make a nice effect. So what I've actually worked on, if I can show you, get to this bit here. How do you hold this up? I have to get one of those boards and clip it. So this bit here, I managed to get to the other side. So this, I'm not kidding you, just a couple of diagonals on this side is a couple of weeks of stitching this, maybe 3 sessions, 4 sessions in total. And it's just, I also managed to get a bit done here where you see the flowers in the bush there. But it's just literally nearly every stitch is a different colour, and I just don't know what way to work that, because if I do cross country, that's fine, but I still have to keep changing my thread every couple of seconds. And if I go row by row, I still have to change my thread every couple of seconds. So there's no getting away from it. So I keep having this kind of, sorry, my eyes are itchy today. Those allergies are a pain. And I keep forgetting what I'm saying as well because I'm kind of tired. I keep changing from full cross to, sorry, not full cross. I've been doing full crosses mostly. I keep changing from diagonal to cross country to limited cross country to doing blocks to doing rows to doing squares to doing this, and I just keep, looking for more interesting ways to go about doing it. And on the other piece, I'll show you a bit more of how I do that. So this is Great Cottage Walkway. Again, I don't have any plans for this, as in I've got to finish this by a certain time. I'm just trucking away at it, picking up and doing a few stitches, maybe 150. 150 is about a good number for something this crazy. And before I want to rip my hair out, because I really love the chart and I want to do it. But I do get a little bit frustrated when it's that crazy. And I've kind of noticed, I don't have that many Artecy charts, and I haven't started loads of Artecy charts. I could say to you, oh, they're nearly all confetti mad. But I have noticed, especially on this one, when I open up and look at the chart as a whole, when I zoom into it and pattern keep it, it is nuts. There's just like, wow, so many symbols, hundreds of different symbols everywhere. There's hardly any blocks of colour anywhere, except for maybe that little bit up there. But even then, there's about 4 different colours up here. Just looks like one colour, about 4 different colours. It does produce a lovely effect, but it can just do your head in. Now, I don't hate confetti and I don't hate the block stitching. I don't mind either of them, but you know, within reason. Too much of one and too much of another can just be a bit too much. Yeah. So anyway, that's the Great Cottage Walkway. Again, 25 count, and I'm doing it on as 1/1 full cross. So that one's coming along very slowly, but it's coming along. And I've just kind of relaxed about that now. Instead of worrying about, oh, I'm not getting enough progress, I'm just like, well, whatever I get, and that's it. I'm not going to kill myself over it. But yeah, that one's definitely coming out a few times. Let's go on to my large and well-known piece, which is Riverwalk Charm. And this one I've got lots and lots done, but I can show you more or less the area that I'm working in now. So this is 25 count, a mixture of tent and full crosses. And well, we've got a lot done in the last couple of years. But the piece that I'm working on now, let's have a look. If I can roll it up. This is a bit of a masterpiece, I think. So rolling it up, you can see the red umbrellas. I'm on to the 3rd one now. So yeah, basically worked most of this bridge. So I've done all this section here in a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. Just kept going with it, trying to get more done on this side of the canvas so that I can have a bit more balance rather than it being kind of very heavy on the left side. Trying to find more balance. And yes, working diagonal, but not working in rows, because this actually is quite good. It's not got too many colours in it. So I don't have to switch out every so often. So I'm just kind of cross country in that diagonal, and that's making it go a little bit faster, but it's not crazy like cross country everywhere. Because I don't mind cross country, but when it's scattered, when it is like, does look like actual confetti all over the canvas, it makes me anxious. I'm like, I don't know where to go. I don't know which one to do. I don't know. It's like a jungle. A jungle that has been infested with, I don't know, little bugs, and they've all just been thrown up in the air. And it's like, oh my God, where do I even begin? So I do have to kind of limit the cross country a little bit. And I've not actually tried cross country in the diagonal too much before. I've always just done kind of, you know, snake. That's it, snake method going down. But it can be slow, too slow. And I realized that when you've got less colors in there to do, why not just, you know, go down with one color and then come up and go down with another color. And you'll end up doing about 300 stitches in an hour instead of 100, because you've basically sped it up by not having to rethread every few seconds. So yeah, I don't know. I'm always, you know, everything is a learning curve. Even after 5 years, I still change my mind after 5 years. So when you like something and you really like something, don't think that it's going to be set in stone, because in a couple of years' time, you may not like that anymore. Or even in a couple of weeks' time, you might go for something completely different. So yeah, it's always interesting the way we can go off things and then go back onto things, and then isn't it interesting just? So that's my main project, which I keep trying to keep in the picture. just so that one day I can say, oh my God, I'm nearly there. Okay, I didn't tell you though that I did hit the milestone of 56%. I think it wasn't that long ago I hit 50%, a couple of months ago, 3 months ago. And we are now at 56, so I'm heading to the 60. And whilst I don't want to put too much pressure on that, because then I end up just feeling daunted, I think it's coming up to a nice number. And I'm pretty sure I'll have that before the end of the year anyway. So yeah, so this one was a total of about 380,000 stitches, somewhere around that. And I've done about 220,000, something like that. So we are certainly getting there, folks. And I'm finding it easier to put things onto the hoop again, because sometimes when I retreat to the bedroom, I don't take my stand with me. So I just sit on the bed and I stitch in hand like that with my hoop, which is a lot less weighty than the Q-snap. So I find the Q-snap gets quite heavy. I don't know why. It is actually quite heavy on my hands, and I get shoulder, neck ache. So I do have to be careful. That's another reason why I can't stitch for long periods, because I get so much tension in my neck and shoulders that I have to be really careful with that. Because if I get a really bad crick in my neck, I can't stitch at all, and I'd hate that. So I do have to keep getting up, as well as having sciatica. So I have to get up every hour or so and move around and walk or go outside. So I can't do long stitching sitting sessions. If I did that, I'd be crawling on the floor with pain. I wouldn't be able to get back up. I have to I'm sure some of you know, with sciatica, you have to not do too much of either. Not too much standing on one spot, not too much sitting, not too much walking. It's actually a real pain. If you're standing in a queue somewhere, how are you going to sit down? If you're walking somewhere and you don't have transport, how are you going to sit down, in the middle of a street? It's like you have to walk to a place to sit down, or a park or something. It can be really difficult, but I don't know. It is what it is. We've all got something, right? Okay, so it doesn't seem like much, but I've actually put lots of effort into that this month, especially Riverwalk charm. I've probably done a couple of thousand stitches there. So apart from that, I think I was talking last video about a chart called Fairy Whispers, and I'll put the picture up again. This one seems to be stuck on my mind for some reason. I started it a while back. I didn't like the fabric anymore. I put it away, took it out, tried again, didn't like it, put it away. Put it away as a potential restart, and then it's been in the back of my mind because I didn't want to UFO it. Then I thought, I don't know what to do. And then, thanks to one of my lovely viewers who commented, said I would just restart, because if not, it's just going to drive you mad. So thank you very much for your comment. You know who you are. I think. I don't want to say names when people haven't, given me permission to say names. I restarted, and I just thought I'm better off going from the hard danger that I was having trouble with to the 25 count, because it's going to take so long to stitch something. Why would you want to stitch on something you're not enjoying? So even though I'd already put in like 7%, I thought, oh, what the hell, I'm just going to restart on the count that I'm most likely to keep continuing working on. So I did that, and here it is, my little restart on this one, because I love the colours on this so much. I do actually enjoy working on this, so I'm more likely to bring this out than anything else. At the moment, I'm kind of stuck on this one. Did I tell you? Yeah, 25 count, 1/1 full cross, and I started doing some diagonals, and then I thought I'm going to try the limited cross-country thing. So we're trying that, still with a little bit of parking, but parking with one strand is much more, I don't know, comfortable to work with than parking with two strands, where it gets all heavy and carpet-like. That's why my Riverwalk charm is so heavy and carpet-like. It's because I worked most of it in two strands tent. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. really, but it does make it heavier to hold and carry and what have you. So, you know, smoothing it out a bit with one strand, and they get less tangled because they're more sort of airy fairy than two strands, which are really heavy and they get tangled up. These do tangle a little bit, but not terribly. So this, I started on the right side. I don't know whether you're seeing the left side, but I started on the right side of the chart. And yes, I don't even think I'm 1% in, but it's not very wide, as you can see, but it is fairly long. So again, no plans with this one. No, like, oh, I have to get this done by such a year or whatever. I'm just like enjoying it when I pick it up, and if I don't pick it up, because I always sort of struggled with the my whips are not getting progress sort of thing, and now I'm just like, do you know what? Life's too short. I just stitch on what I want when I want to do it, and that's it. But I don't start too many. I currently have 20 whips in total, of which, yeah, most of them are Hades. But I'm really careful to not start too many, because then I just drown. I just drown in the number, and I'm like, I end up not doing half of them. So I'm trying to be a bit more picky, but the ones that I do have, even if they're put away, doesn't mean they're never coming out again. So if you don't see me working on like Tree of Life, for instance, which I started back in 2023, it doesn't mean it's dead. That one is put away for when I feel like stitching on it. Maybe next year, the year after. I'm just not going to stress. Yeah, that's it. I'm not going to try and beat the clock and try to get them all finished within a reasonable time, stuff like that. I'm not doing the race thing anymore. That's my explanation. I'm sticking with it. So let's talking about I don't do new starts all the time. Let's talk about the new start. You couldn't make it up, could you? Okay, so I have had this chart in my wish list actually for ages, and I thought to myself, well, everybody's talking about the sale and getting a new chart, and my birthday's coming up and Halloween, and you know, should I not? I mean, this is keeping me awake at night, right? This conundrum of should I get it or not? And it's a good thing to be kept awake about, by the way, amongst other things that could keep you awake. So I just went in and I purchased it, and then I went into my Discord community and said, look, I got a chart. And then we all decided, between me and a few others, that we would do a September the 1st start. So I've got my threads. Hang on, I better tell you what it is first now, because that would make more sense. So here is my choice, and I've deliberately chosen request a size because it is the one in between the mini. Is it the mini? And the regular, I think. The normal sized one, large or regular, and the mini. This is in between. So it's not too big and it's not too small. I like the request size. It ends up being about 20 inches. So it's 525 by 350. So it's not huge. It ends up being about 20 inches wide on 25 count, which is okay. Anything bigger than that starts to veer on the too big territory, and then I get swamped. I don't really think I want to do like regular, big charts any longer, because it just takes too long, and I can stitch more of a variety if I stick to moderate sized cross stitch patterns rather than, I mean, I would love to do super sized and max colors and all that, but I'm getting old, got to look at it in a sensible way. So Vatican Sunset, 1st of September. Now I say 1st of September, but depends on if my fabric comes, because I've ordered fabric for this one. And I'm not going to work on it monogamously. I'm just going to work on it when I want to work on it. And if I want to put in a whole couple of weeks on it alone, then I will do that. But I was working on putting some of my threads onto floss drops, and I ironed them, because a lot of these I took off bobbins bobbins that I had stored away, which I hadn't been using, probably from other projects, and it came out so fuzzy and crinkled. And then somebody said, you can iron them, and I did, and it just made such a difference. Now, I didn't have the iron on in a hugely high setting, obviously, and I did test, one of them first to see that it wasn't going to explode. And it just came out a lot better, a lot less crinkly. I might not have got every single, you can see some, I mean, they're all terrible lengths, don't worry about that. It's because I took them off bobbins. Some of them were already cut up into different lengths on the bobbins. So they weren't organised as from new skeins of floss. So yeah, it's a bit higgledy-piggledy in length, just a bit. But hey, it's fine. And I normally use short lengths, so I was thinking of actually cutting them all like that size because I use shorter lengths. So when I pull one out, it's going to be easier for me to have it about that size. That's actually going to be that length, by the way. When you pull out a strand, it's about that length. That's an okay size for me to stitch with. So I've actually got 4 of these on the go. This is for Vatican Sunset. So I got those. And I've always used bobbins in boxes, and now I'm sort of veering towards using, and I had these wooden ones. I thought I might as well use them. What's the point of just having them sitting there? Let's just use them. And I just put simple labels on, and that's it. And then I found something to put them in, because I do have to be careful with storing these, because I have a very curious, pesky cat, and she has been absolutely, I don't know, crazy, because I've been playing with these for 3 days and she thinks I'm playing with her. So she's been staring at them like, can I attack? Can I not attack? Can I attack? And normally she comes up to my, initially she'd come over to my threads and I'd say no. I know you can't really say no to a cat, right? She kind of got the hint that these were not for playing. So she stopped. But there was so much of these flying around, which isn't normal for me, and organising that, yeah, it was just too tempting for her. So she leapt on top of me, but then she kind of looked at me like, oh, I wasn't supposed to do that, which made me laugh. So yeah, I have to be careful with storing them, because you can never 100% trust them. I mean, I think if I leave, and sometimes I have left things out at night and forgotten to put them away, she hasn't touched them. But you just never know with a cat. They could just have a funny turn, and the next minute you wake up in the morning and you come out and your chart that you left, your fabric that you left on the table, or your threads that you left on the table, whatever it is, could all be like, she could have been playing with them in the middle of the night. You just always have to have in the back of your head, don't trust them 100%. I don't trust her 100%. I trust her about 90%, but not 100%. So far, she's pretty good. She doesn't jump on my stuff. But obviously, if you entice them, like I have been, waving those things around for a couple of days, that's just enticing her. So she's absolutely right. How can I be waving them around in front of her and then telling her not to come near them, That's just how cats are. So yeah, we've got this one, which I'm hoping to start on the 1st of September, but like I said, it depends if my fabric comes. If my fabric doesn't come, it'll be after that. But again, I don't really mind when. And again, I can't think about which one I'm going to, going into September. I hate the word plans. Plans doesn't really work for me. I try to do them all the time, but it just doesn't work. So coming into September, I was thinking, should I put Riverwalk charm away for a little bit? There's no harm putting it away for a little bit and maybe work on anything else that I feel like working on. Maybe this one for a little while. I was actually going to buy a Halloween-y kind of chart, like pumpkins, or I don't know. There was a witch one I showed last time, which I was interested in. But then I thought, when after Halloween goes, I lose a bit of interest in stitching on it, because yeah, it's no, you know, it's no longer Halloween. So I just think like, I want to do something Christmassy. But something like this, it doesn't matter what time of the year you do it, it's just gorgeous. And I particularly like, I look at composition and I particularly like contrast. A lot of people know I like contrast, so I like things like the lights showing among the dark, things which look really good from a distance and sort of close up. I don't know. The more I look at it, the more it appeals to me somehow. And I have been to the Vatican, so it does have some sort of meaning. I haven't really been around it much, but I did drive past, so there's that. I think that's it for the stitching. That's it. That's it for the stitching. So I think that's enough. That's keep me busy. So yeah, so I shall have to come back and show you how I'm getting on with that Vatican sunset once I get going. So let's see, what else have I got to talk about? Okay, so this one, I'm just going to go and get a quick drink and then I'll come back and then we'll talk about Etsy and what's happening with that. Okay, so I'm back and I've had a little drink and that was everything for the stitching. But what I did want to do, because maybe some of you are new and haven't seen the previous Thomas Kincade chart, which I finished last year, I thought I might show it again, seeing as I'm about to start a new one. So this is called Home for the Holidays. It was already framed. And here it is. Home for the Holidays by Thomas Kincade. This is the mini version. It is the Heaven and Earth design chart as well. And I got it framed last year here in Scotland. And I really love it. I walk past it. It's on the wall, usually behind me, and I walk past it. It just makes me smile when I see this lovely scene here. Yeah, so this one's out the entire year, not just at Christmas. It's not particularly a Christmas chart, except it does have a snowman. So I guess you could say it's a Christmas chart. I think it's okay to have out for the entire year. It's not like a big picture of Santa or something. Well, you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with having things up all year round. If you enjoy Christmas and you want to show your pleasure of it all year, why not? I've got like a little pumpkin candle, which I have out all year. Doesn't matter if it's not Halloween. Okay, so that's all to do with the stitching. So thanks for watching that. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about other things. So if you're just here for the stitching, thank you for stopping by and I'll see you again in my next update. But I wanted to also go over something that's happened with my Etsy shop recently, just a brief explanation. So you may not all be aware, I'm sure most of you are, that there has been a lot of talk about the recent tariff changes in the US and with importing goods from outside the US. And yeah, everybody's been talking about it. I've been trying to follow it. It's been confusing. Nobody really knows what's going on, especially when you're a seller and you're selling outside the US, like, you know, what's going to happen and all the rest of it. So that has come into effect now, I believe, or it's going to come into effect. Well, I got an email from Etsy. I have an Etsy shop and I sell needleminders there. And I got an email from Etsy a couple of days ago saying we are suspending the production of labels to the United States. And that means that, see, I purchase my labels, the stickers on the front of the parcels. I purchase my postage through Etsy so that it's verified and Etsy know that I've paid for it. And they're not going to produce those anymore for the US. So if anyone goes into a shop on Etsy and tries to buy something from the US, the seller won't be able to produce a label via Etsy. So that has been suspended until further notice. But I do have some news, an update again that was talking about something called, they're looking into something called DDP, which is duty delivery paid, and they're trying to come up with a solution to the whole tariff thing, but they have to figure it out. They have to get all the paperwork done and everything. It's going to take a little while, so I envisage it's going to take a few months. So while it's really sad that I've had to, not just me, a lot of people have had to, stop selling to the US for the time being, I do think it's going to get sorted out. Fingers crossed it'll all be sorted out and we'll be able to find a way of fairly distributing to the US, because I don't want to sell a Needleminder for, say, $10 and have my customers on the other side get hit with a huge charge or a hidden cost. I wouldn't like that myself. And I always try to think, if I wouldn't like it, I wouldn't expect them to like it. I wouldn't expect my customers to like it. So I wouldn't want to do that unfairly. So I'm just going to have to suspend things for the moment until my local postal carrier figures it out, until Etsy figure it out, and then I'll see which way the wind blows. And like I said, I'm sure it's all going to be resumed. They're going to find a way around it. And only then I will be able to resume sales to the US. So I just wanted to apologize, because I know a lot of my customers are over there, and yeah, it's frustrating for everybody. But what can you do? These things happen. Just going to go with the flow, and I'm sure it will be sorted out at some point. I think that's that. I just wanted to briefly mention that. The shop is still open, by the way. I'm not going to close the shop because I still got customers in the UK and in other places. So, but yeah, it has, and it's going to hit hard for a lot of people, including myself. But just go with the flow. What can you do? Okay, so that's it. The other thing that I have done this month is I've been reading a book called The Sanatorium, and this book is a detective kind of thriller genre, which I don't normally read. I normally read historical fiction. So I thought I'm going to try this one because I've seen it a few times and it looks okay. It's not really working for me. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just the genre. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the book. I don't like dissing books. In fact, if I don't like a book, I'd rather not say anything, because I don't want to, be the bad mouthpiece about. I'm an author myself. I've written 3 books and I know what it's like to get criticism, which there's nothing wrong with, criticism, but when it's negative, it does have an impact. And I'm not saying the book is bad. I'm sure some people, it's got really good reviews. A lot of people love this book. Maybe this book is for them. I'm deeply into characterization, so, excuse me, need another drink. So I like getting to know characters really well, and all their interactions, and, more of the emotional side of things. But books like detective stories, they can be quite sharp, and you don't get to really know the characters that well because they're too busy looking for clues and looking for the murdered person and blah, blah, blah. So it leaves me feeling a bit dry. So I get halfway through the book and it's like, okay, so now we've got a murder, and this has happened, and the detective's there, and now she's talking to the guy in the hotel, and blah. And I just find, I don't really care, because I don't really know the characters well enough to care. So it's really, really hard in fiction, especially when you're writing a book like this, to find that balance between overly portraying someone when you don't really need to. You need to get through the plot and the story quickly because it's a detective thing, because it's a murder mystery. So yeah, it's really difficult. So it's maybe not my kind of book. So it hasn't really grabbed me. Now some other detective books have, but this one just doesn't grab me. And I don't know whether I'm going to bother continuing to read the whole thing, because I think, well, I'm halfway through. Like, if I haven't picked it up in over a week. If I don't read the second half, if I read the second half, imagine all that time I could have spent stitching. That's kind of what goes through my head, or doing something else I enjoy. Because the older you get, the more you think about time. And yeah, so I don't know. Maybe because there's so many books out there. There are so many books out there. I just think to myself, I'm not going to put myself through reading books that, and they've opened up like so many bookshops here now. and there's a cute little like book nook around the corner of my apartment, which I can just go around the corner and get, and I've got shelves full of books, so I'm not going to get stuck on something that I'm not thoroughly enjoying. I like books that really draw me in and I can't put down. I know that's an overused phrase, can't put down, but it's hard to find that kind of book because, yeah, I don't like too much description, but I don't like no description. I do like atmosphere, and I need to be able to care about the characters. If I don't care about the characters, I'm not really going to be that interested in what happens to them. I think that's just my, as a reader. As a writer, I like to try and, have people show their best sides and their worst sides and just make it just very realistic. And I think this one's just a little bit unrealistic for me. So I don't think I'm going to finish it. So I don't know what I'm going to pick up next. I'll have to have a look. Probably go back to one of my historical fiction ones. I bought the whole series for Outlander because I watched some of the series on TV, and I'm about 2/3 into the first book of the Outlander series, and for some reason I haven't finished it, but I do want to actually finish it. Now, that's an example of really getting to know the characters. You really do get to know the characters in Outlander. Again, different type of book. It's not a murder mystery, but it is historical fiction, which I like. So I really dig the kind of historical details that go into it. But I don't know. So let's see. I'm really quite a fussy person when it comes to reading and stuff like that. I look for, because I'm also a writer, there are certain things that I look for and expect. So yeah, we'll see. So I think that's it, guys. I don't want to keep babbling on just for the sake of babbling on. You're probably sick of me by now if you're still here. Thank you. So I think I will leave it there, and I'll come back and let you know how I'm getting on with my new start. And I will also, what was the other thing I was going to do? Oh, I don't know. So I'll let you go, and I hope you have a wonderful September and get lots of stitching done, or all the things that you want to do. And I'll be back soon again with another flosstube update. So I'll see you then. Bye.